Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing? This is another funny or wrapped up story about my life. This one is not funny. It's actually kind of sad and heartbreaking. I just realized I'm wearing my wrong glasses, but I'm gonna clean them off too. But yeah, it has to do with a friend of mine that I grew up with when we were kids in Mississauga. Um, Now, weird story. Hold on a second. Hey, stop. Okay. Anyway, weird story. There's a friend I grew up with. His name was Ken. When we were kids, we were friends on Facebook for, we when we were kids, we hung out all the time. Like every day, I was at his house. He was incredible guitarist. Got me into metal and rock, and brought which kind of led to me getting into industrial and all the other stuff. But basically, opened my mind to music more than where it already was. Really good guy. So we sort of parted ways. Like when we went to high school, he went to an art school, which is actually the school I kind of wish I went to, because I'm saying a lot in this video, and it's really weird because they rarely do that anymore. But this is actually kind of a hard video in a sense, and you'll find out why in a couple minutes. But anyway, and I'm also trying to figure out, make sure the cats aren't going to fight. So, but yeah, so we were friends in middle school mostly, and this is not the video for this, guys. Nice, sorry. Had to part the cats because they were growling and fighting, and Gunner was being Gunner. And anyway, yeah, so in middle school, we were like best friends. We watched a lot of movies together, just hung out a lot. And when high school came along, he went to his school, I went to my school, and we didn't part ways. We just sort of hung out more on weekends and stuff. And then he had his new group of friends, and I had my group of friends, and we just sort of, you know, phased away from each other in the terms of, when you're always hanging out and then suddenly you're sort of not, and you got your crowd. But also, there's a lot of intermingling of those crowds because the crowd he hung out with were friends with the crowd I hung out with. They just weren't as close as I was with them and he was with them. But anyway, that being said, we sort of parted ways for a bit, and I moved way out to the country, and he stayed in the city and stuff. And oh, there's Lemmy. And yeah, we sort of just parted ways. And then one day, I can't remember if I contacted him or he contacted me, and we just sort of I don't reconcile. That's not even the right word at all because we didn't part in bad ways. But we just sort of like, oh hey, how's it going? It's been a while and this, and he had his band now, Canadian Honky. I think that's what it was called. So, but yeah, he kind of had his thing going on, and I was doing the chef thing. That's why I started getting into cooking and stuff, and I became a chef. And we were just sort of doing our thing, and we were chatting back and forth, and we never really met up. Like it was just, oh, he's playing at the Horseshoe Tavern, and then, oh wait, it's on a Saturday, and he told me like a couple days ahead, and he's like, oh, because of the industry I'm working in, I kind of got to know. Not that I'm saying it's his fault. He would, it's just how it is. I can't just say, oh, this Saturday I need off, right? It just doesn't really work that way unless it's an emergency. But anyway, that being said, yeah, and it just sort of went back and forth like that. And then just one day out of the blue, he unfriended me, and I couldn't figure out why. And I'm not saying anything that it was his fault or my fault or whatever. Maybe he had his reasons. I don't know. And I was really upset, and I was messaging him, and I was seeing that like he was seeing the messages, but he wouldn't get back. We were just sort of, okay, that's fine. All right, maybe I posted something that he really took offense to on like his Facebook, of course, or maybe it was just something that maybe just kind of felt he was past me in that sense. Maybe he saw I was still a little bit immature. He's a family guy now. He's doing his thing, but I don't know. So I just kind of let it go. And then that was probably the last time I tried to message him was about 8 years ago. And I just thought to myself, this is a couple weeks ago now. I thought, you know what? I really kind of miss the guy, and I want to know what's going on in his life, and uh, maybe I should try and contact him. And here's the interesting thing. The same day I thought of that. Now I never said it out loud, so all these people talk, oh, your phone's listening to you and that sort of thing. No, I never said it out loud. I was just sort of thinking it to myself, and then just this random memory. I don't even know who it was from. Popped up. Sorry, the cats. I really wish my cats liked each other. It'd make these videos so much easier. Make my life easier. But anyway, uh, again, any other video, it would be funny, but not this video. Anyway, so I'm thinking like, time's gone by, you know, I want to know what's going on. I get this random pop-up memory from somebody else, and it just said the passing of Ken. I'm not going to say his last name for privacy reasons, but it just came up, and I'm like, wait, what? And it happened in 2022. It's 2025 now. This video is being made, but it's 2022. I'm like, wait, what? No, that's not right. That's somebody else. This is just a coincidence. It's weird because I really thought, you know, I really wanted to get in touch with them and stuff. And this pop up came. I'm like, no. So I just went on his Facebook page, non-existent. What I got was this memory of Ken and last name, and I was just like, no, this is not happening. This is not true. And I went online. I looked up obituaries, just really hunting down the facts. Am I seeing what I'm seeing? And yeah, sadly, he had passed away in 2022. And when I saw that, I'm not gonna lie, my heart just sank. I was just like, no. And I saw the picture of him, and I mean, not to say anything bad or anything, but it was, well, maybe because he was also wearing glasses in the picture, which I had never seen him glasses before. But I was, he looked so different. I was just like, no, this can't be the right guy. This has got to be a mistake. So you know, I looked around again, and other Facebook things, other people that knew him, that I knew him, and yeah, he passed away. And needless to say, I was pretty brokenhearted. Not as brokenhearted, obviously, as his family would have been, and people who were close to him at the time that loved him, and but just from my own personal history with him, I was pretty, and still am. I'm not really. It's still going through my head like that, like that he's gone. And maybe if I knew about it when it happened, then you know, I wouldn't be processing it as much as I am now, because I would have known that he was ill and, you know, expecting it. But when you don't know, and then just suddenly you want to find this person and they're gone, it's just like wow, why didn't I try this sooner? You know, like why, even if I'd contacted him when he was ill, and maybe just a chance to say goodbye or something, you know. And I've had a couple cries about this. I'm not gonna lie, you know, like I'm kind of almost on the edge now. And I haven't talked to the guy in, like, literally spoken, seen him face to face in more than 30 years. But we had such a childhood together, and I literally put together a list. It's all scribbles here, like just pages of stuff, memories that I'm going to talk about in this video. So I'm not going to start on page 1, because those are like just the main memories I just went through. And just so there's Gunner jumping up on the shelf that he likes to sleep on. But I'm just going to start randomly on page 2 at the top. See how, like, I was just doing like just like little ticks and notes. But yeah, movies in the basement, Friday the 13th, Slaughterhouse. Some of the movies that I still love today, we used to sit like week after week and just watch these movies and record them so we'd have our own versions we can watch all the time. Like most of the Friday the 13th movies, we sat in the basement and watched the movie Slaughterhouse, which is kind of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I got him into Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, I got my Gunner there. How big of a fan I am of that film. Summer School, great. Mark Harmon. What's her name from Cheers? Her name is Kirstie Alley. Such funny movies that we'd watch over and over. Another movie called Bad Manners that it's a really hard to find movie, but we'd watch that over and over again. Like we just literally sit there and watch movies all the time. Like we'd also sit in the basement. He was a fantastic guitarist, a virtuoso, I would call it, because he was so young. He was so freaking amazing. I know he switched over when he was in his Canadian honky band. He became he switched to bass. He was also a great drummer. Like just I remember I'll talk about this a band we had because I have a cassette here. It wasn't a real band. It was just us screwing around in the basement with another person. But we wrote songs, wrote lyrics, and he would drum sometimes for it, like just not on the recordings, but just showing the other guy because he never drummed before. He just rented a drum machine or a drum kit, and he was just drumming and kind of would show him how to drum, right? But we'll get into that in a bit. Let's see a couple other things. A lot of other things. Talk about movies. We watched one time. We were just watching The Wizard of Oz randomly, and for whatever reason, it was just sort of an out of character film for us to watch. And the part where it goes, oh, and he was talking about that's on the new Metallica album, which I hadn't got yet. This when Justice for All came out, and he got me into metal. By the way, I'm wearing this Motley Crue shirt for a reason, which I'll get to that at some point. Hopefully, I'm trying to make this video under half an hour. But and if you're watching this video, thank you for watching all the way. I understand that this was when I was young, was a very important person in my life, and I loved him and I miss him like dearly. And knowing I'll never see him again is really, really hard. So anyway, yeah, sorry, I just kind of threw that in there. This might be a longer video. So he goes, "That's on the new Metallica album." I'm like, "Shut up, really?" And then he played they sampled it in I think it was Harvester of Sorrow. But anyway, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of interesting." In hindsight, it seems a little silly because it's such a popular film, but that they would use that. But I think other people have used it too. But anyway, there was one time. So was it? I was older. He was the cooler guy. I was the older guy, but he was the cooler guy. I actually envied him, and when he would dress a certain way, I'd go, "Okay, that looks cool," and then I would kind of copy that a little bit. In high school, he kind of kept with his rocker look, and I went more punk, and I had a big mohawk at some point, which he always thought was kind of cool. Like he thought it looked good. He would never. That wasn't his style, and I know his parents would strangle him if he ever came home with a mohawk like that. But my parents wanted to strangle me, but they're just like, "You'll grow out of it," which I did. No, I didn't really grow out of it. I just ran out of hair. But yeah, he was the cool guy. He was the one that the girls all liked. Later on, he was probably still the one with the girls all liked, but they also started liking me. Because, I mean, look at this. Even at 52, I'm a catch. But no, seriously, yeah, he was the cool guy back then. There's one time we were at the big mall in Mississauga Square One, which is actually, I think it's the biggest mall in Ontario. Bigger than the Eaton Centre, which is a huge mall. He had his bike locked up outside one time, and I guess we went in and come out, and his bike's locked somewhere else, and he thought we had moved it. We're like, "No, how can I move? We don't. It was me, him, and another guy. I don't know who I can't remember who the other guy was, the other kid was, but it was just like, I didn't touch your bike, and the other guy's like, I don't know. I guess somebody had unlocked it. He had this. It was black and yellow BMX that he had. I remember it was a really cool looking bike, and they moved it over to somewhere else and relocked it. It was the weirdest thing. It was funny, and to this day we don't know who it would have been. It wasn't us. So So we used to jam a lot, or he'd play his guitar and I would sing or attempt to sing anyway. And so we're coming up with band names. We wrote so many song lyrics together. And I remember there's one he wrote. It was, I don't know what it was called, but it was a metaphor for somebody taking their car out and crashing it and killing somebody. And you gotta think, this is like grade 7, grade 8, and I think it was something like Mama had her baby sitting in the crib, took it out on a one-way ride when he had nothing to give or something like that. But basically, is about took the car out and crashed it, but it killed somebody at the same time. The car and like he put it together really well. I just don't remember how the lyrics went, but it seemed to make sense at the time. It was the baby was a metaphor for the car, but it was also a metaphor for the person that the car killed when they got into a car accident. So kind of cool. And we're coming up with names. He had this big list of band names that he wanted to use, and the two ones was Enforcer and Enticer were the two main ones. I said I like Enforcer, and he goes I like Enticer. And you gotta think this is hair metal days, right? When we were in the Motley Crue and Skid Row and Poison and Wasp and all that style of music. So I picked Enforcer. He said Enticer. And then I was asking him, what do you like better? Everyone's going Enticer, Enticer, Enticer. And I go, what's wrong with Enforcer? And he goes, it sounds like a police officer or it sounds like a cop. And I thought about it. I go, okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. So we opted on Enticer, but that never really went anywhere. It was just me and him screwing around. We're just coming up with these funny names. Another story here. I'm just going down the list here. We snuck in to see Poltergeist 2. And this is kind of funny because we were there. We went there with these two girls, and we snuck somebody in the back door. I can't remember who it was. So we're sitting down, and it was one of those things where you hear about the movies like knock on the door, but it wasn't a knock on the door. We were just kind of waiting. We opened the door real quick, and the person came in, and we never got caught for it right away, but we did get caught being in the theater. And we were seeing Poltergeist 2. Oh, we were sneaking in. There was another guy and another girl. That's what it was. They came in. So it's me, Ken's sort of girlfriend. I think we were like 13 years old at the time. I would have been 13. He would have been 12. And this other girl who I had never met before. So as we're getting into the movies, they're saying like, oh, we're going to go see whatever kids movie was out at the time. And I go, I thought we were going to see Poltergeist 2. So we get up to the thing, right? And we hadn't really talked. They said we're going to see this movie, but they didn't tell me that we were saying we're going to see this children's movie or this kids film. So we get up there, we're like, okay, so we're gonna. I go one for Poltergeist 2, and they look at me, and they're like, no, we're gonna go see that one. I mean, kids movie number 1, whatever it was, and we walk, and they're like, you're such a freaking idiot. You didn't tell me. I'm not the idiot. You're the idiot. Why didn't you tell me? This is me and Ken going back and forth, right? Like, you gotta tell me this. I told you. You didn't tell me. It was actually kind of funny. So anyway, we're sitting right up at the front. I'm like, why are we sitting in the front? Because I want to look like this. And they're not telling me anything. These are secrets to me at this point. So they let the person in, the girl and the kid, like the kid. So the couple, the girl and the guy. I don't know who they were. I can't remember. So they come in, they sit down. So a little while goes by, and then one of the people that works there comes down the aisle, comes over, comes right up to us, and it's like something again you see in the movie. The movie isn't on yet, right? Like there's the previews and all that shit, right? So they flash a light in our face, and they're like, okay, here's the deal. I know you're not old enough to see this movie. I like these kind of movies too. And he goes, you got to. I guess we were being loud too. That was the other thing. That you got to keep the noise down, or I'm gonna have to kick you out because you're not supposed to be here. And we're all like, and we were super quiet. We just watched the movie, and yeah, Poltergeist 2. Yeah, it's not a good movie. But anyway, that being said, all right, sneaking into the Poltergeist 2, buying Doc Martens and Hercules subway ride. I don't know. One time we were on the subway. We were going downtown to buy some Docs, like Doc Marten boots. Because we were a little older then. This is early high school. And I pulled out all my money. I'm just like, yeah. And Ken's like, yeah, don't do that. I was not familiar with downtown or riding the subway at the time. He was, because I know he'd go to Steve's Music all the time and buy like guitar strings and picks and all the other stuff. Sorry, my wristbands being untying on me. anyway, whatever. So he goes, put that in your pocket. So yeah, it was he was like, listen, guy who's older than me, who should know better, don't do that. But okay. So there was the Sunday night sex show on I think it was Q107 back in the day with Sue. And we used to we never listened to it together. He'd be at his house, I'd be at my house, and then we'd talk about it the next day. Everybody knew that show. Everybody, all the young guys in Toronto and young girls in Toronto knew that show, the Sunday night sex show with Sue. There was a guy named Jason Leonard that did pass away while we were in high school. He went to the same high school as me. He was a bully. Honestly, I didn't like him. I'm not saying I'm happy he died or anything like that because he was like really young. He was about a year older than me at the time. He passed away then. But I remember we went to not his funeral, but to the viewing, and it was kind of like odd. Like we were just kind of never seen a young person like that at a funeral or at who had been deceased. It was just so weird. I know it's a weird memory to throw in there, but it was a memory that I remember us all going there together, and it was just like, and all that bullying shit, it just sort of didn't mean anything anymore. It was just more like, wow, he's gone. Uh, the cult teasing me. I remember listening. This is when we were probably in around grade. I would have been in grade 8. He'd been in grade 7, and people were blasting the cult, and I'm leaning against the wall, and I'm just kind of. And Ken used to tease me a little bit too, right? Because, like I said, he was the cool guy, and he looks up at me and he goes, check out Roy." Roy being my real name, not Jack, but just check out Roy. And I'm just like, what? I can't listen to the music or something. And he just starts laughing at me. He goes, that's all right, or something like that. But he just said it in such a funny way. I'm like, what? Because I'm not the cool guy. I'm like the wannabe, I guess. Yeah, but anyway, funny story too about my dad. I'm not going to go into it, into what was said, but my relationship with my dad when I was younger, we're like best friends now. I love my dad more than the world. My dad, well, my mom and my dad, obviously, of course, but the story involves my dad. Um, he came home late for some reason, and he started yelling at me about something, and he's going, and then he started saying something about me and Ken. I'm not going to say what he said, but it was just something um, insulting, and he's yelling at me, and he was mad about me for something, and I was, so I'm sitting there like, okay, and then he stops talking, and my dad's in the living room, and he didn't know that at the front door, which was down a flight of stairs, that Ken was down there. And I turn around and I go, yeah, I can't go because we're going to go somewhere. Right? I was asking if I can go somewhere. And he's like, yell at me. And Ken goes, okay. And he leaves. But he goes, why didn't you tell me somebody was there? And I just like, didn't ask. Like, but it was so funny in hindsight. He's just like, blah, 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 you and Ken and this, and this, and this. Can't go. It was just like, in hindsight, it's actually really, really funny. I mean, I think even my dad would get a laugh out of it now because it was so long ago. But okay, let's dancing down the street. Flip over here. Okay, now here's something you wouldn't know. I always seemed like I was the troublemaker because I was loud and I was like this. I'd go to his house and we'd be like in the basement. He'd be playing guitar and I'd be singing, pretending to trying to sing, yelling and screaming, and just joking around. I was always the loud one. We were making jokes and stuff. I would be the one who made all the noise. Now, probably because I didn't live there, and he did, and he knows parents probably want peace and quiet. And I was just like, But in hindsight, in reality, when we were outside, Kent was more the shit disturber than I was. Not that he did anything bad, but it was just like, oh, look at that over there, and be like, pull the clothes off the clothesline kind of thing, like stupid juvenile shit, right? But he was the one, oh, excuse me, he was the one that would be doing that stuff, not me. I was like, I don't know if we should do that or not. I was more the rational guy. But yeah, he was kind of the troublemaker in that. What else we got here? Guitar, genius, drummer, I already went through that. Could never eat, sleep. Oh, well, Yeah, I'll get into that. We used to we used to skateboard together a lot. Like we weren't very good at it, but yeah, we skateboard together. We made a skateboarding video one time. We watched it. It was a little bit silly and pointless, but let's see. Yeah, GoBot. I remember he had a huge GoBot and Transformer collection. I remember he wasn't really allowed to have people upstairs in his room, but I went up there we went up there all the time. His parents weren't home. He had this a lot of GoBots, Transformers, massive record collection. You know, like I said, he got into got into got me into metal. I don't know. There was somewhere I was going to go with that, and it just sort of went away. There's a guy named Doug that we used to sort of hang out with, but we picked on him together, and I think this is his mom really didn't like me very much. I think she thought I was the rowdy one. And I remember there's this one time where Doug would always start fights with me, and most of the time would lose. Not that I'm a big tough guy. It's just the way it went. And one time I had him down on the ground, and I'm punching him because he stole something from me and he was fighting me, and I got him there, and I just punched him a couple times. And Ken's mom came out and said, "Get off him, get off him." And Ken's saying, Doug started it, and then I was the bad guy. But it was more like I knew every time I got into a fight with Doug, if I stopped fighting, walked away, he would keep fighting. And it was just like, I don't want to keep fighting, right? There's every fight I would start winning, and I'd be like, can somebody just hold him down so I can walk away? It happened so many times. I just didn't want to fight. He would start it, and then I would just basically get the better of him, and then, you know. But anyway, okay, there's that song we were talking about. What's on this here? Andrew, Corvette guy. There was a guy that lived on my street. His name was Andrew. He had a Corvette, really cool guy, and he'd invite us over. I think he was like we were, 13, 14 years old, whatever, when we met him. He was 24 years old, and Maisie had long hair. He was total like hair metal rocker of that era, of that time, that whole look. And he's an amazing guitarist, and like he'd get him to play stuff, and then Ken would go home and play the same song and just basically saying, yeah, I can play that too now. And he'd do it by ear. Like Ken was just an incredible guitarist. All right, let's see a couple other things here before I get into some really last minute important things. Andrew, older guy, school dance. I remember I went to school dance one time at his school, but I had to use someone else's ID. It was an Egyptian kid named Nori or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, yeah, and then I was trying to dance, and he kept saying, stop that. People are staring at you. I'm just having a good time, which is weird. I usually need alcohol to make an ass out of myself, but that was even before I ever had a beer or tasted alcohol. One time we were going home, I was feeling sick, and it was Boxing Day, and I was walking to the video store, and I shit my pants on the way to the video store, and I remember going, "Ah, shit, I gotta go home." And he goes, "Why?" "I shit my pants." And we went back, and that was a joke we used to talk about all the time. It was just funny. Let's see. I had my first kiss at a party he brought me to. There was a girl that he invited us, and it was her and this other chick. I can't remember her name. The chick who invited us, I think her name was Nancy, and she was sort of with Ken. And then I got this other girl, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to kiss her and see if she's a good kisser?" I'd never kissed a real kiss in my life. I would have been about 13 or 14 at this time. And so I'm standing there, and she literally pushes me down the floor, and Ken and this girl, they're sitting beside us, and I'm thinking she's going to kiss me, right? And like I didn't know. Next thing I know, it's like, and her tongue is in my mouth, swirling around, and I'm just like, this is pretty much me. Because I'd never kissed a girl before, right? It was so weird. And then later on, she leaned over to kiss me, and I started pretending to laugh. It was just like, oh, man, I was pathetic. But yeah, that was, yeah. It was funny. The Power Hour, we used to watch the Power Hour together. That's when he started getting me into metal and stuff. Let's see. Posters, I don't know what that is. Driveway concerts. We used to listen to music, and he'd be playing, like he could play the guitar, but he'd use his like hockey stick, and I would be pretending to sing, lip syncing to like Twisted Sister, Motley Crue, maybe occasionally Kiss or something like that. But anyway, people know how much I like Kiss, right? But anyway, like we were lip syncing to that and just playing in the streets, and people would drive by or they'd go around the corner. They're like, "Yeah," and we're just like, "Yeah." So it was kind of a lot of fun. All right, now I'll get to the funny stuff. Sunday nights. That's all right. Okay, first page. This is the first page. Okay, so there was a kid named Rowan that lived right next door to Ken. This video is actually going very long, like I thought. And please, I hope you watch it to the end. So Rowan was a kid that lived a couple doors over, and he was a good kid. He was in our little group of friends, and just a couple funny stories. We were at the community center in a pool. There was the pool there, and he kept doing somersaults, and he'd pull his pants down and moon everybody. Now there's probably about 200 people in this pool. It's a big pool. And then, so as a joke, he goes to do a somersault, and me and Ken, I grab one side, and Ken grabs the other side of his shorts, and we meant just to pull them down like to his knees, but they came right off. And Ken had them in his hand, and he looks at me, he throws them at me. And Rowan's, you gotta think, now he's like completely naked in this pool, who's surrounded by people. He's just sitting there like, Ken throws his shorts at me. I catch him, and I throw them at him, and he moves away. Instead of catching them, he just kind of moves, and they go flying over they fly about 20 feet away into another part of the pool. Now Rowan's like naked. His swim shorts away over. He's surrounded by people. And I remember these girls come over and they look at him, and they look down and they see he's naked. And they're like, oh. The girl's about our age. And then this guy comes and goes, really, really? And he goes, I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to pick you up. And then Rowan, we kind of pull the guy off, and we're trying to get to the shorts. And then the lifeguard comes over, and she remembers a girl, and she comes right over, and she said, I can't remember what she said, but basically, get your bathing suit, and you guys get the hell out of here. So he's literally in the corner. So I think Ken went over and got them. He goes over, gives them use, like, I remember there were these red trunks, and he pulls them on. He's just kind of like, okay, we all laughed. It was a funny story. Rowan was embarrassed at the time, but he thought it was funny after. There's another Rowan story I'm not going to talk about in this video. It's not very nice. First concert I went to was with Ken, and it was actually Motley Crue. And I got the ticket right here in this case. Vicious Dead case right here. Motley Crue, 1987, October 25, Girls Tour right there. That was the first concert we went to. Maple Leaf Gardens does not exist anymore. It's where the Toronto Maple Leafs used to play, and of course it was a concert hall. And now it's a Loblaws. So it's a grocery store now. Huh? Go figure. But I think there's ice rinks above it or under or something. There are hockey things going on still in that building, but it's not what it was. I want to wrap this up real quick. Amazing Guitars, I already mentioned that. We were in a record store one time. We went in to buy some metal records. I think we were there to buy Wasp, Animal. We went there. We bought that, and they were playing REM. Now, I like REM, but at the time, I remember it was Orange Crush, and it was follow me, don't follow me, or however the line goes. And Ken and the other guy we were with, I don't remember what his name was, were really getting into it. And I'm like, what is this? This is stupid. And so they bought the albums, and I was actually really disappointed. Like, you bought this? What is this? Like, but now that I know who REM is, and I actually like REM, but yeah, it was just at the time. So that's where his music was starting to span out a little bit to other genres. Let's see, School Dance, I already mentioned that. Crazy Record Collection, mentioned that. Steve's Music, mentioned that. Remixes on cassette. Now here's something he used to do too. He had a boombox, whatever, the two cassette decks, and you can record one the other. And what he started doing was taking rock songs and basically doing remixes of them, and it sounded really cool. I was trying to do it on mine, but where his was probably a little bit more higher end, when he hit pause, it stopped right away. When mine, you hit pause, it wouldn't stop. It would just kind of just go a little bit further. So I couldn't really do it on mine. So I would do it on his, but his were always really well. Of course, he's a musician, so his were always really well done. Um, so it was really cool. That was the first time I even knew what a remix was. He didn't even know what a remix was. It was just something he was just creating, just kind of changing around the music and creating his own versions of other people's music. It was pretty awesome. Road hockey. Yeah, I used to go to a couple of his hockey games. Really, thing. Fights with Doug, I already mentioned. Skateboarding, I already mentioned. High school band. Yeah, he was in a high school band. I remember he did a couple of shows. It was the people in the band. It was him, Vince, Ian, Dylan, Kathy, and this other guy, Jason. I remember they had one show they were doing. It was at a school dance, and the microphone got unplugged, and Jason just kept singing, didn't know, and then somebody grabbed the microphone and plugged it back in. So it was like na 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 na, na whatever the words. I was rock you like a hurricane. I remember that. That's what it was. Let's see. I remember we were smoking at my parents' house. So we didn't smoke. I've never really smoked, but we wanted the cool kids used to smoke. So we were like, okay, let's smoke too. So they come to my house. You come over to my house, and we'd have. My parents had cartons of cigarettes in the fridge because my parents have always smoked. Well, then at that time, so we took back and we're smoking the cigarette, passing it back and forth. But we're not inhaling it. We're not like enjoying it like you would. So we're just, and then we'd finish a cigarette, and then we'd go, okay, what are we gonna do? The house smells like cigarettes now. Now, understand, my parents are smokers. The house always smells like cigarettes. So, but we took the vacuum cleaner. We're like trying to, suck up all the smoke, thinking that's gonna change anything. But, of course, they never knew because the house stinks like cigarettes all the time anyway. But there's just a funny little story. Crazy record collection before I get into this set here. Okay, so at one time we did get together. We created a little band, and it was me, him, and this guy Nate. And talk about that in a second. We couldn't come up with a name, and I was wearing a shirt that said "Vicious Dead." Or Sid Vicious Dead, rather. It was from the news article when Sid Vicious passed away in, I think it was 1978, I guess. And coming up with a name, and then Nate goes, "Vicious Dead. What about that?" And I'm like, "That's good." And Ken was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, all right, sounds good." And so that was our little band for a while, and we were just, like I said, high school kids. I was the punk. Nate was sort of the punk. Ken was the rocker. Because at that point, like I was getting more into punk and industrial music, and Ken he was into the metal stuff, but he was branching out into his direction, and so yeah, and I actually do have a recording right here of the Vicious Dead. Good, and I just came up with the name. Rip your head off and eat it, like because it was just some stupid thing, like it was rip your head off and eat it, and so yeah, I do have recording, and here's the cassette. This is right there. And what year was this? This was I think it's like 1990. 1990. So that would have made me. I would have been 17 years old. Ken would have been 16. So would have the other guy Nate. And I even went as far. I made like a little inlay card because as my little act guy. That's how long I've been using that. More than that years, and even got the lyrics printed on the inside. Yeah. So yeah, it was. Yeah, a lot of interesting memories. I just leave that there. I did leave a few things off here, which is sort of small things because the video is going. We're almost running 40 minutes. I think this is the longest video that I've ever done. But yeah, I do have to say, when I found out he had passed, my heart dropped. Ozzy here, I put kind of for Ken because we watched Ozzy concerts in his basement. We both really liked Ozzy back then. I still, I'm sure he still liked Ozzy up till the end. I still like Ozzy now. But and basically, aside from the Iron Maiden stuff I don't really have anything that would really fit in the corner here that in terms of Ken. But yeah, I miss him. I miss him a lot. Like I miss him like a lot. I don't know how else to put it. And the fact that I was trying to reach out for to him. Like in my mind, I was planning to reach out to him rather, and just seeing this random pop up a memory, and I don't even remember who it is, so I can't even look it up again. Saying that on this day or whatever, someone had posted something and remembering him, and but I know that the night after I found out, because I found out basically 1 o'clock in the morning in bed, just scrolling through my phone, just trying to think, trying to look up stuff. This is when the pop up came up, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" And I'm going through everything, and I know the next day I did a lot of this and wrote out this list and just basically listened to the hair metal music that we listened to together back in the day. So I don't know. Rest in peace, Ken. I miss you. I miss you so much, and I wish that I don't know why you decided to just sort of stop talking to me or whatever. What I've done, I'll never know. You took that with you, I guess. Um, but I loved you, man. You're a good guy, and I can't think of anyone I know that never thought the same. That you're a great person, extraordinary talent, and well, I don't know what happens when we go, but maybe I'll get an opportunity to say hi. Anyway, if you watch this all the way to the end, thanks. People that knew Ken, if you've seen this, you want to comment below, please do. And I guess that's it. Until next one.